I promised to keep her secret, even if it meant losing everything. Jake Miller never expected his life to change the night he found her in the warehouse. The old building at the edge of town had been abandoned for years, and Jake only went there because his truck broke down 2 blocks away and he needed shelter from the rain. He pushed open the rusty door and stepped inside, shaking water from his jacket. That was when he saw the blue light. It pulsed softly from behind a stack of old crates, and Jake felt his heart start to race. Every instinct told him to run, but curiosity pulled him forward. When he rounded the corner, he froze. A woman sat on the floor, her back against the wall, but she was not like any woman Jake had ever seen. Her skin had a faint silver shimmer to it, and her eyes were too large and too bright. They glowed with that same blue light he had seen from across the room. She looked up at him, and he saw fear in those strange eyes. "Please," she whispered, and her voice had an odd musical quality to it. "Please do not tell them I am here." Jake should have called someone, the police or the military or whoever dealt with things like this. But something in her expression stopped him. She looked so scared and so alone. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. "My name is Kira," she said. "I came from very far away, and if they find me, they will take me back." Jake knelt down slowly, keeping his distance. "Who will take you back?" "My people," she said. "They do not understand why I left, and they will not. Let me stay. I just wanted to see your world to understand humans, but I made a mistake and now they are looking for me." Jake looked at her carefully. She wore strange clothes that seemed to shift colors in the dim light. Her hands trembled, and he could see a dark stain on her side. "You are hurt," he said. Kira nodded. "I crashed my ship in the forest 3 days ago. I have been hiding here since then. The injury will heal, but I need time." Jake made a decision that would change everything. "Come with me," he said. "Have a cabin outside town. You can hide there until you heal." Kira stared at him. "Why would you help me?" "Because you need help," he said simply, "and because I think you are telling the truth." Over the next 2 weeks, Jake brought Kira food and medical supplies. Healed quickly, much faster than any human would. She told him about her world called Zarath, where her people lived in massive cities that floated in the clouds. She explained how they watched Earth for decades, studying humans from a distance. Most of her people thought humans were primitive and dangerous. They believed humans would destroy themselves before they ever reached the stars. But Kira saw something different. She saw creativity and passion, and a wild determination to survive against all odds. She wanted to understand that spirit, to see if perhaps her people were wrong. So she stole a small scout ship and came to Earth alone. Now her people were searching for her, and they would not stop until they found her. Jake listened to all of this with wonder. He asked her countless questions about space and other worlds and the technologies her people possessed. Kira answered everything patiently. She seemed to enjoy talking to him. "You are different from what I expected," she told him. One evening, they were sitting on the porch of his cabin watching the sunset. "How so?" Jake asked. "You are kind," she said. "You did not have to help me, but you did without asking for anything in return. That is rare." Jake shrugged. "Maybe I am just curious." He smiled. "Maybe I always wanted to meet someone from another world." Kira smiled back, and Jake realized how human that smile looked. But their time together could not last forever. One morning, Jake woke to find 3 black vehicles parked in front of his cabin. Men in suits stood waiting, and their faces were hard and suspicious. "Jake Miller," one of them said. "We need to talk to you about an extraterrestrial entity." Jake felt his blood run cold. "I do not know what you are talking about," he said. The man did not smile. "We have evidence that you have been harboring a fugitive alien in this location. She is wanted by her own people and by our government. You need to tell us where she is." Jake thought fast. "Even if that were true, why would I tell you?" "Because she is dangerous." The man said, "Her people have technology that could threaten our entire planet. If she stays here, she puts everyone at risk." Jake knew they were lying. Kira had shown him nothing but gentleness. But he also knew these men would not leave without answers. "She is gone," he said finally. "She left 2 days ago, and I do not know where she went." The men searched his cabin anyway. They tore through everything looking for evidence. But Kira had hidden all traces of herself before she left. Jake had helped her erase every sign that she had been there. When they found nothing, the men left with angry warnings, but Jake knew they would be watching him now. That night, Kira appeared at his window. "I am sorry," she said. "I heard everything, and I cannot let you suffer because of me. I have to leave." Earth Jake felt a strange sadness at those words. "Where will you go? I do not know," she admitted. "But I cannot go home, and I cannot stay here." Jake looked at her for a long moment. What if there was another option? "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. "What if you stayed but not here? What if I helped you hide somewhere they would never think to look?" Kira shook her head. "Jake, you have already risked too much. If they catch you helping me, you will lose everything. Your home, your freedom, maybe your life." "I know," he said, "but I made you a promise. I promised to keep your secret, and I meant it, even if it cost me everything." Over the next month, Jake and Kira planned carefully. He sold his cabin and his truck, telling everyone he was moving to another state. He withdrew his savings and bought a small boat. Then, on a moonless night, they sailed away from shore, heading to a remote island Jake knew about. It was tiny and uninhabited, just a rocky piece of land with a few trees and a freshwater spring. But it was off all the maps and far from any shipping lanes. They could disappear there. The authorities came looking for Jake. Of course, they questioned his friends and searched his property, but Jake had covered his tracks well, and they found nothing on the island. Jake built a small shelter while Kira worked on repairing the communicator from her crashed ship. She said she could modify it to block any scanning signals that might find her. Months passed, and they fell into a quiet routine. Jake fished and maintained their camp while Kira studied Earth from their hidden sanctuary. She learned about human art and music and history. She was fascinated by everything. One evening, as they watched the stars, Kira turned to him. "I think I understand now," she said. What Jake asked, "Why humans have such potential?" She said, "You are willing to sacrifice everything for something you believe in. Even when it makes no logical sense, you still do it because it feels right. That is terrifying to my people, but it is also beautiful." Jake smiled. "Is that what you will tell them if you ever go back?" "I do not think I will go back," Kira said quietly. "I think this is where I belong now." Jake looked at her and realized something had changed between them. It was not just about keeping a secret anymore. It was about two beings from different worlds who had chosen each other over everything else. They stayed on that island for 3 years. Jake taught Kira how to sail and fish and survive with limited resources. Kira taught Jake about the universe and showed him star maps of distant galaxies. She told him stories of other worlds and other species, and Jake felt his understanding of existence expand beyond anything he had imagined. But eventually, Kira made contact with a faction of her people who had been questioning their government policies. They were rebels of sorts who believed that peaceful contact with humans was possible. They promised to help Kira if she would help them make their case. It meant she would have to leave Earth and return to face her people. The night before she left, Kira held Jake's hands. "I will never forget what you did for me." She said, "You gave up everything and you asked for nothing in return. That is the proof I needed. Humans are ready to join the galaxy." Jake felt tears in his eyes. "Will I ever see you again?" Kira smiled. "I promise I will return, and when I do, I will bring others who want to learn from you. Your world is about to change, Jake, and it will be because one human decided that doing the right thing mattered more than safety." She kissed his forehead, and then she was gone. A beam of blue light took her up to a ship Jake could not see. He stood on the beach watching until the stars were just stars again. 2 years later, first contact happened. Ships from Zarath appeared over major cities, but they came in peace. They brought technology and knowledge and a proposal for alliance. The human who had made it possible, they said, was a woman named Kira. She had shown them that humans were worth knowing. Jake watched the news from his small apartment in a coastal town. He had returned to civilization quietly, and no one knew his role in any of it. But then his door opened without a knock. Kira stood there wearing human clothes and smiling. "I told you I would come back," she said. Jake laughed and pulled her into a hug. "Welcome home," he said. Kira looked around the small apartment and then back at him. "Yes," she said. I think this is home now. And she stayed.